I called in to talk about this very thing that you're discussing now regarding Snowden, and not so much Snowden, but the flexing of and these mighty demonstrations of American hegemony across the globe, which are, I guess, from where President Obama sits, he feels he's projecting his power, and that's great. But I think any other human being on Earth outside the intelligence establishment should be mortified at what's going on. To watch all of these countries, these different countries get in lockstep doing the bidding of the United States over, pretty small potatoes kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, it does have, I'll tell you something, it does have a feeling of like a dry run. I mean, it's almost as if like somebody sat back and said, let's just see if we can do this. Like, let's just see, we've seen all these, people have written about dystopias in the future and, who are we at war now? Who were we at war yesterday? Those type of sort of projections into the future. Let's just see if we can make a most wanted man in the world. And, not for terrorism attacks, not for this, just for being basically a hacker. I mean, there's something very, very, and before, Matt's looking at me like, hey, he's not a hacker. I think this guy was a white hat hacker. I think that's what he was brought on in many respects to do. And there is this moment, I think, if this does not in any way change the tenor of the way that people are looking at this, because I've been one of those people who have been less interested in, maybe, sit around a bar stool and talk about what Snowden's motivations are, how much interagency play is at here, those things. But in terms of a news story, where is Edward Snowden thing is just basically porno as far as I'm concerned. This moment, though, is the first in that saga, which I think is incredibly revealing and is newsworthy in terms of how we contextualize this. This is when we have sort of crossed through the looking glass, as it were, it seems to me, that you could have 3 or 4 countries deny a president from a country that is a sovereign country and not, some rogue state, basically deny them passage because of this one fugitive is just stunning to me.
Well, and also it was based on just kind of a flighty rumor. It's just basically a rumor that would be very difficult to be true because the diplomats and
but even if it was true,
Russia,
even if it was on that plane, I still don't get how that could be allowed to be. That only makes it even more ridiculous. The fact that they didn't even know. I mean, what would they be willing to do if they thought Snowden was on that plane and Morales basically said no?
If he was on that plane, that's where the truly dangerous scenario could have come up.
Right, because they pull him off the plane.
You're saying. What, are you literally going to drag somebody off the president of Bolivia's plane?
That was obviously
in Europe?
the plan. I mean, this is really sort of a naked moment in some respects, and it's
for a government other than the United States to pull him off the plane. I mean, the Austrians volunteered to do this. Clearly, they took proactive. I hate using that word. They took, what I would say is determined action to bring the flight down, to intercede, to ask to search the plane, and actually go on the plane and search anyway.
I mean, it's not. I know. I realize this is not the Austrian. The Austrian anthem is, I think, Edelweiss.
A guy on Twitter called it a global stop and frisk.
Yes.
In this case for Morales, but as weird as all that is, these are, European Union countries. They are supposed allies. It's weird to hear Putin say, we might think of giving Snowden asylum if he stops releasing documents that are embarrassing to our American ally.
Look,
and not even like to the security of the state, but embarrassing. What the?
Well, I'll tell you, Jay. I'll tell you what it speaks to, Jay.
We have gone around a bend for certain, but people in this country are not going to get riled about this. Obviously, this is a projection of our power. This is our greatness. But what about European countries? Aren't they
I would imagine
at what they're.
Jay, I got to let you go, but I would imagine that we're going to see. There's going to be a lot of anger in Europe about this. And I would imagine, because they're more sensitive to this stuff, I think, than we are, A, and B, what all of this reveals. And, the idea that Putin would come out and say, we're not going to do this to our friend, should be a cue to people to realize why we have such problems with what is going on with the national security state, with the spying, with all of this, with the crackdown on whistleblowers, the persecution of whistleblowers. It is because these severe authoritarian impulses that we used to associate with a guy who would ride around on a horse with his shirt off and, former KGB, that we associate with Putin, we have now adopted. And it is, I'm interested only vaguely, I guess, but on some level to see the reaction from the Chris Matthews out there of to this idea that we would force this plane down. I just think this is massive. Here's the point. When you don't accept the institution of political asylum, when you do not accept the institution of sovereignty, the concept, and say that Edward Snowden is a legitimate reason for us to trample upon those, what is left in terms of any legitimate international norms? Because international law is simply, international law, there's no, I mean, there's the I guess the UN Charter,
there's
but
very few real enforcement mechanisms.
Right. There's no constitution of the world. It is simply that everyone agrees that we're going to play, that there's certain bottom lines, just like, the only analogy I can give you is that, and I think I've mentioned this on the program, but when many years ago, when I was traveling through Australia, somebody had told me a story about, I was at a 4-day test match, cricket. And the difference between cricket and baseball, aside from the sort of the mechanisms, is that there are things you can do in cricket when you're doing a 4-day test match where you can run out the clock. Like they told me a story about where the pitcher, or whatever they call him, the bowler, whatever it is, instead of like throwing the ball in there or the whatever it is and allow the guy to hit it with the wicket, or I don't remember the terms, he rolled it on the ground. Made it virtually impossible for the guy to get, and his own fans, the Australians, booed. Because that's not the way you're supposed to play the game. There's no rule against it, but that's not the way you're supposed to play the game. If we show just so much disregard, and this is the problem with torture, this is the problem with all these things. If we show so much disregard for international norms, ball game over. You're unwinding decades of international norms, of case law, of tradition, and it maybe that's never been there, but it's never been so nakedly flouted. I'm just that's why I find this part of the story just stunning. And I've not been terribly moved one way or another by this saga of, where's Snowden going to land, because that's secondary. But this aspect of it is incredibly revealing. And ironically, it didn't really even involve Snowden. He was nowhere on the scene. He was for all we know, he's sitting watching CNN International in the Moscow airport.